Do you have a soul? I'm J.L. Spradlin. Is there a more important question than this? Whether I am electrified meat gallivanting from A to B in space according to evolutionary adaptive drives? Or am I more than that? Are we more than that? This question is relevant to us all, though some dodge it. I need to know, do I have a soul? Do you have a soul? Or we just matter? I'd like to briefly show you how I came to the conclusion that I could answer this question with an emphatic yes. I'm going to draw a comparison between a piece of music and consciousness. I'm going to talk about what science does and what it doesn't do. Materialism. And I'll ask you to make a choice based on your experience of these phenomena. First, an analogy. What is a note to a symphony? What is a thought to a mind? Now, researchers, writers, Marvin Minsky wrote a paper, Music, Mind, and Meaning. And he talks about the first four notes of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. You know, dun 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 dun. The first three notes are a fifth. And then this is a third, a minor third, scale degree. Science, logic, research can break a symphony like this down to its nth degree. How many notes, their relationship to each other, waveforms, characteristics, harmonics, you name it. But what it can't do is tell you why you experience those notes all put together as a symphony, as what you experience it as. Likewise, a thought, a feeling. This is a map of a fly's brain. Science breaks us down into little puzzle pieces and tries to explain and observe each little piece. But what science usually fails to do is recognize the fact that both the sender and the receiver of all this data already, you, me, already has a picture in our minds of what the finished puzzle is. Sam Harris is one of those scientists, a materialist. He says, he's a neuroscientist, he says there is no place in the brain for the soul to be hiding. He uses brain injuries and Alzheimer's, dementia, aphasia, not being able to speak, as evidence that if there's a soul, that in the afterlife, the soul must not be able to speak, not be able to remember anything if they had suffered from one of those conditions. But interestingly, my response would be that my grandfather had dementia at the end of his life. And when I'd go to see him at the nursing home, he couldn't remember what he had for breakfast. But when I looked into his eyes, I could see the spark there. That was his soul. I knew it was him. C.S. Lewis, a great writer, the Narnia Chronicles in the 20th century, wrote about science, and he explained that a scientist observes a specific moment in time. He points his telescope at a specific spot at a specific time, and this happens. He heated this stuff in this pot to such and such a degree, and this happened. Nothing more. Now, let's look at Beethoven's Fifth. Science doesn't try to tell you why you experience it the way you do. In the process of the brain, the same. It doesn't try to explain the whole picture. But materialism, which is the alternate view, and it's the prevailing view, or scientists and philosophers, according to Phillips, most academic philosophers these days will tell you without hesitation that they are materialists. Materialism says that what science sees, that's all there is, nothing more. In the end, though, this is a matter of belief. Sam Harris measures electric pulses and chemical reactions in the brain and puzzles out some of its functions and then pronounces there is no soul. But if he were to use the same methods on a collection of notes, he wouldn't be able to find the symphony either. You don't need a scientist to tell you whether or not a symphony exists. And you don't need a scientist to tell you whether or not you have a soul. Whether all you are is what science can measure. Thank you for your time and your attention.